Hello, everybody. Alrighty then. So today is Tuesday, July the 2nd. Of course, as a friendly reminder, if you guys haven't already, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. We're going to give people a chance to come in here. Give it a few minutes before we go over what's on tap for tonight. Got a couple of stories from Bounding into Comics, as well as of course the wrestling wrap up and this day meets history, which will be later on in the show. Um, so hopefully everybody's having a good week thus far. We just got started here, so um, anyways, I said, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here. I'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. We'll probably give it another minute or so before I talk about what's on tap for tonight. So, anyways, hopefully everybody's having a good week. I know for those of us in the States, we're still a couple days away from of course Independence Day, our country's birthday. So hopefully everybody's ready for a nice 4th of July celebration. Sure, a lot of you are thinking about hot dogs and fireworks and all that. So um, also remember though there were a lot of those who gave of themselves to ensure the freedoms that we enjoy here in America. So just be mindful of that as well. So let's see, we're at 2.5 minutes, so I'll give it a little bit more time here. So let's see. Hong Kong Fooey, number one super guy. Hong Kong Fooey, quicker than the human eye. Chicky chong, chicky wong, wow, wow, wow. Hong Kong Fooey, that's terrific. Let's see. Get along, gang, get along, gang. Each one is special in their own way. Coming about a get along gang, get along gang. Get up with the get along gang. Even if you're okay. Get up with the get along gang. Oh, get up. Let's see. Casper, the friendly ghost, friendliest ghost you know. He laughs and plays, sings dead all day. Everyone knows you know. Casper, the friendly ghost, the friendliest ghost you know. Let's see now. That's what else. Overture, cut the lights. This is it. We'll hit the heights. No more rehearsing or nursing our parts. We know every heart by heart. All right. So, anyways, we're now past the 4 minute mark. So, I guess I will go ahead and talk about what's on tap for tonight. So, as I said, we got a couple of articles. Couple articles from Bounding in the Comics we're going to go over. The first being, news in regards to the upcoming season of the Ranger Reject anime. Be looking at that a little bit, as well as looking at the latest release of Image Comics Feral number 4. So we will look at those. As I said, also we will have of course, we will have the wrestling wrap up a little later. Talk about what happened on last night's Go Home Raw. As WWE is preparing for its Money in the Bank event this weekend in Toronto. And we'll also talk about some AEW news as well, and then get into this day and age history. Some birthdays to go over as well. So, um, alrighty then. So, anyways, so why don't we now get into let's get into the first article here, I guess. Going here. All right, so here we go with the first article. Ranger Reject Anime steps up for another round of Sunday battles. Officially announced its second season. Article by Cider Hype, published earlier today. So let's take a look at this. Ranger Reject, known in the West by the unfortunate localized title Go Go Loser Ranger, um, has been a wild ride for most of its runtime. The animated by Yostar Pictures and based on Negi Harub's manga of the same name, Ranger Reject follows an unlikely protagonist by the name of Foot Soldier D, and in smaller quotes, evil henchman, on smaller quote, from deep space, who has had enough of his repetitive life on Earth. For the past 13 years, in exchange for their continued survival after a failed invasion, D and his fellow henchmen find themselves trapped in an endless performance of staged, quote unquote, weekly battles, each of which end with their defeat and only serve to boost the reputation of the planet's local heroes, the Divine Dragon Rangers. Again, another Sentai type, anime here, in the same vein as shows like VR Troopers, Power Rangers. Um, just this one's actually an animated version as opposed to live action, so that's the only real difference there. Um, anyways, all right, as we continue on here, let's see now. As a result of his disillusionment, one day D decides to make a stand, throwing a regularly scheduled battle out of whack by misbehaving and disobeying the Dragon Ranger's established rules. His tantrum, eventually put down by the personal hands of the team's leader, Red Keeper, a despondent D decides to abandon his station and begin a long journey of knocking the heroes off their pedestals by pulling back the curtain on their on their in smaller quotes heroic existence. Most fans of the show will tell you, um, mingling the aesthetic of Hasbro's Power Rangers with a setting remarkably similar to that of Amazon's The Boys, has delivered a welcomed boost to an already engaging storyline. And after a dazzling first season finale involving a series of unexpected deaths and changes in power dynamics, A second season of Ranger Reject has now officially been announced. Per a teaser trailer released on June 30th, that was this past Sunday, its visuals are, so 2 days ago, basically, visuals are a mashup of clips from the first season, in particular, its last two episodes. The season will air sometime in 2025. All right. As of what viewers can expect to see in season two, speaking from an anime only, small quote, perspective, at this point, it seems that anything can happen. With the final episodes of the first season, we not only saw changes being made to the Dragon Rangers roster. These plans come to fruition, and his overall combat prowess increased. But we've also started to see clues as to just how widespread the Dragon Rangers' control is and how desperate those living under them have become as a result. Yeah, this one's kind of a very interesting scenario where the guys who are the supposed good guys are actually the bad guys, and the supposed bad guys are the good guys. Kind of an interesting twist there. Some role reversals there, as it were. Fans are also speculating that XX might become another antagonist, or that something twisted will be revealed about the very nature of the Rangers themselves. After showing off how much power he has and how evil he truly is, Red Keeper appears to be a fan favorite to be revealed as something greater than human. There's also hope regarding the introduction of mecha battles, as these are important to the tokusatsu genre that inspired the series' aesthetics and mythos. Here's something, I guess, here's a manga cover, I guess. See if anybody's saying anything yet. Nope. As I said, if you guys haven't already, you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, however, the biggest thing on the minds of fans of the show is, will the pacing improve? One of the biggest issues with season one was its seemingly random pacing. Some of this appears to be an effort to take some of the humor from the manga out of the anime's presentation, and while the loss of the humor isn't so bad, the hiccups to the story caused by making the show so serious has fans both worried that this will continue into the next season and wondering if a little bit more laughter might have been the remedy to the entire situation all along. It's always nice to have a good balance between drama and comedy, right? Ranger Reject Go Go Loser Ranger is now available on Hulu with English subtitles. An English dub for the series has not been announced at the time of this writing. Given how those are going lately, maybe that's for the best. Well, it depends upon who you get to dub it. I mean, if you get maybe the New York crew or even up in Canada to dub it, I think it'd be all right. Just as long as you don't let you don't let L.A. or Dallas touch it. Anyway, so there we go with that article. Anyways. Alright, anything new? Nope. Alright, so let's get ready to continue then. So we'll move on to the other article then that I was going to cover tonight. Let's see. 15 minutes in. Alright, now from what I understand, this might be a little bit of a comic book review. And usually we don't do too many comic book reviews, but we'll see what this has to say here. So the plot becomes thicker than fur in Feral number 4 from Image Comics. Article by Dante Erics, published earlier today. All right, so let's see what they have to say here for this one. Here's a cover by Trish Forrester and Tony Fleece. Image Comics for Feral number 4, 2024. So that's a portion of the cover there. All right. They survived their incredible, quote unquote, homeward bound journey through the treacherous forest of infected wildlife. And luckily, before the reference got too worn out, but that doesn't mean they're out of the woods just yet. At the end of the feral number 3, the 3 house cats, led by the less domesticated Jonas, and accompanied by fellow lost house cat Gigi, made it back to their home only to find it empty. Well, sort of. Still no word as to what happened to their owners, but more was explained in this issue. About the virus that seems to be exclusively contaminating the critters, but has obviously become a Homo sapien problem as well. Oh, wait. Let me just. So still no word on what happened to their owners, but more was explained. This issue about the virus that seems to be exclusively contaminating the critters, but this obviously become a Homo sapien problem as well. Okay, trying to make sure I read that right. And let's see now. All right. Still nobody new here. All right. More is revealed in this issue, including a few layers beneath our main characters and their dynamic. We're given a reason why an obnoxiously reckless Lord Fluffy Britches does obnoxiously reckless things to a pathological level that almost gets everyone killed every time. Let's just say that it doesn't paint Elsie in a good light. The issue ends with Patches making a big change in his life, and not for the best. Bark, cough, cog, bark. Woof. The whack. Lord no. Like with Stray Dogs, the story is from the animal's point of view and their comprehension of the world around them. Also, like the antecedent series, writer Tony Fleeks finds clever ways to distribute the information without breaking character. Artists Trish Forstner and Tone Rodriguez provide the perfect imagery that illuminates the contrasting darkness, panels full of grim words that only humans understand, but they too are distracted by the blissfully unaware cats having a cute cat moment in front of the television. It's just the right combination of sweet, sour, and scary. 4 issues into the ongoing series, and the pace hasn't slowed for a single panel. The tension keeps its paw on the back of the reader's head without ever letting up, with things getting worse as the book progresses. Um, but then the soft, fluffy visuals soothe them along to the next page. I look forward in dread to seeing what happens in the next issue. For now, Feral number 4 is available now from Image Comics. So yeah, so a couple of kind of quick articles, but that's okay. The 21. Let me try one more. Maybe I'll try one more time here, see if anything new comes up here. Let's see. Hmm. All right, so nothing new there. Let me try one more thing here. See if there's any news that's come up since basically earlier. I'm bleeding full. Let me see what we might have there. La dee dee da dee da, la dee dee da dee da, la dee dee da dee da, la dee dee da dee da. Let's see now. All right, that was the last thing we read yesterday, so doesn't look like anything new's coming out of Bleeding Full, at least at the moment here. I'll try a thing here. Yeah, it doesn't really look like any. All right, so anyways, so how shall we spend some time here then? Now that I got through the articles, didn't necessarily want to. Let's see now. What can I talk about here? Let's see. Don't want to get into the wrestling wrap up quite yet. Let's see. Let me go see. Go look some. Yep. All right. So nothing there. All right. So let me see now. So yeah. So yeah. We're a couple of days away from 4th of July. So what shall I do here? We talked about like some of the patriotic. One of the things I didn't talk too much about though is GI Joe. actually, if in fact, um, now I think about it, maybe okay, maybe we'll talk a little bit here about we'll do a little bit of a quick little review of the life and career of Jackson Beck. Jackson Beck, who is of course a actor, voice actor, who um, voice actor, who of course worked with he worked with Fleischer Studios, famous studios, um, Filmation, Hasbro. He's done a number of different roles. So we're going to take a little bit of a quick peek at the life and career of the late great Jackson Beck. Let me pull that up as soon as I find it. All right. Who, of course, lent his voice to a number of different characters, including Bluto from the Popeye cartoons. He's been a narrator on a few shows like GI Joe, of course. Um, Filmation's the Adventures of Superman, the New Adventures of Superboy. So um, let's see now. So Jackson Beck, born July 23rd, 1912, passed away July 28th, 2004. So he would have been like 92 was an American actor, best known as the announcer on radio's The Adventures of Superman and the voice of Bluto in the famous era Popeye theatrical shorts. Beck was born on July 23rd, 1912 in New York City. Beck's father, Max Beck, was a silent film actor. Now, obvious. So yeah, I guess I'll go through it all because a lot of his career is kind of interchangeable here. So Beck obviously got his start in radio. Here and then you know, and he was over the years quite connected to the Superman franchise, as it were. Um, so Beck's early radio experience included work at WINS and WHN, both in New York City, beginning in 1931. So 1931, he would have been 19 at that point. He worked on Mert and Marge, among other roles. In 1934, which would have made him 22, he was the announcer for the Adventures of Babe Ruth on the radio. In 1943, which he would have been by that point 31, he took over as narrator of radio's The Adventures of Superman. It was Beck who intoned now, prior to him taking over the radio role, I know he also provided the narration on, I believe, and provided some voices on the Fleischer shorts as well for the Adventures of Superman. So it was Beck who intoned the familiar prologue, quote, "Strange visitor from another planet." He also had recurring roles, voicing an occasional tough guy, and also portraying Beanie Martin, the Daily Planet's teenage copy boy. So basically, this was before the internet. I think, well, in the comics by 1943, they had obviously introduced Jimmy Olsen, but Jimmy Olsen wasn't as much a part of the cast. He would make occasional appearances, you know, unlike his Silver Age counterpart, where he was pretty much a part of the whole package right from the get go. But anyways, on Superman episodes featuring Batman, he played Bruce Wayne's butler, Alfred Beekle. Oh, all right. So they even had the crossovers there. He also impersonated Joseph Stalin and other world leaders for the March of Time radio series. Starred as the Cisco Kid on radio from 1942 to 1945, and sued Philo Vance in a syndicated series from 1948 to 1950. Starred in the dramatic anthology Brownstone Theater on Neutral, and served as narrator for the radio adventures of Tom Corbett, Space Cadet. Beck also co-starred in several episodes of CBS Radio Mystery Theater. So that's his radio career right there. That's a lot of what he did. And again, from radio, television, film, he was well connected to the Superman franchise, as it were. Speaking of television, of course, he had a number of course, the only thing they mention here is that he portrayed Perry White, Clark Kent's boss, in Filmation's and New Adventures of Superman. He was also the narrator on that series. He would later go on to narrate the G.I. Joe series, the one from the 80s, and was the narrator as well. Yeah, okay. He was the announcer for the first season of Tom Corbett, Space Cadet on television. Mm-hmm. Yes, and he again, and he, of course, he was also well linked to. I guess we'll get into that with the animation and all that here in a moment. In film, from his film career in 1966, Beck dubbed the English voice of the judge, listing Tuco's many crimes before sentencing him to death by hanging in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and used his deep, dramatic, modulated voice as the narrator for Woody Allen's Take the Money and Run in 1969. He also narrated the cult comedy Cry Uncle in 1971, and was one of the players in National Lampoon's first comedy album, Radio Dinner, in 1970. He was prominent as well in Allen's 1987 film Radio Days, dubbing the voice of the on-the-spot newsman. And mind you, as well, of course, he's again done a number of. He's been the narrator on a number of series, all across many forms of media. Let's see now. As we continue on here, his animation career here. Beck had a prolific career in animation, which we've kind of alluded to on a few occasions, becoming one of the regular voice actors at famous studios in the mid-1940s. He, of course, voiced Bluto in the Popeye cartoons, which we've talked a lot about. Little Lulu's father. He also was the golfer in an episode of Little Lulu as well, who hired her to be his caddy, promising her some candy. The fox in Baby Huey cartoons, Buzzy the Clown, who was the foil for Catnip the cat in a number of cartoons, or Buzzy the Crow. Beck used a black dialect, the voice of Buzzy. He was also the voice of King Leonardo in the 1960s TV cartoon series of the same name. Also had a part in Peanuts' 1977 film Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown, as the snickering cat Brutus. Kind of funny how he was the cat Brutus, because when King Feature Syndicate started producing the 1960s Popeye cartoons, I believe Jackson Beck continued the voice. They changed Bluto's name to Brutus in that one as well. I believe Jackson Beck reprised the role there, along with, of course, Mae Quetzal and Jack Mercer reprising their roles from the shorts, from the theatrical shorts. And this is something I've talked quite a bit about already. He narrated the 1980s G.I. Joe animated TV series. His other voice work included network TV promos. He did a series of promos for NBC's NFL coverage for much of the 1980s. Narration for sketches on Saturday Night Live, movie trailers and commercials for everything from toys to shampoo. One of Beck's very last commercials was for Infusium shampoo. Which I wonder when that was because he of course lived to like the age of 92. So that would be kind of interesting to find out. Let's see. So it's other work other than, of course, television, radio, film, animation. Beck also served as pitchman for products from Combat Roach Killer to Little Caesar's Pizza. He was Caesar Jr. in 1999. In 1999, he narrated the dramatization for L. Ron Hubbard's Dr. Methuselah for NPR's radio series 2000X. So 1999, that would have made him 81. So he was still working even at 81. That's pretty impressive. Beck also did few on-screen acting roles. A notable one was as mobster Willie Sapphire in the crime-based daytime soap opera The Edge of Night from 1968 and 1969. That's interesting. Maybe we'll have to check that one out. Beck was also a featured announcer on the 1972 comedy record album National Lampoon's Radio Dinner. Let's see if you guys are okay. I said, if you haven't already, if you guys can like and share the screen, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, continuing on with the material here. Beck had also done some voice work for MTV, mostly for contest advertisements. Beck also recorded voices for children's records such as The Legend That Could from Diplomat Records. In 1994, so that was 10 years before his death, he was 82 at that point. Beck voiced Daryl, the Fifth Fish, Hunter number 2, Wickensham Guard number 2, the Sneetches, and Greedy Ape in Storybook Weaver, and later in 2004, remade as Storybook Weaver Deluxe, his last voice. So he worked pretty much all the way up until the end of his life there. Beck died of a stroke on July 28th, 2004, 5 days after his 92nd birthday. He is buried in Brooklyn's Mount Hope Cemetery. I mean, that in and of itself is a pretty remarkable life to think about it. The guy lived 92. I mean, yes, he still died of a stroke, and you hear people stroking out at much younger ages. It's probably just one of those things where his body just finally gave out. But for him to have survived that long, he must have had to, led a pretty healthy life, eating right, exercising, all that. And he was working almost right up until the end there. That's pretty impressive. That's an impressive life for you in the form of Jackson Beck right there. So, anyways, well, now we're at 39 minutes here, so I think it'd be a good time to start moving along then. Now we're going to move along to the wrestling wrap-up, as it were. We, of course, last night was the Go Home Raw. The Go Home Raw to WWE's Monday Nitro. I'm sorry. Last night was. I'm sorry. Let me say that again. Last night was the Go Home Raw before WWE's Money in the Bank pay-per-view this Saturday in Toronto. So, of course, the last participants of the Money in the Bank, Money in the Bank event, um, were were um, were were um, basically were chosen. The last two entrants in the in the respective Money in the Banks came about that night, as well as Liv Morgan defending the WWE World Women's Title. We also, of course, have news. There's some little scuttlebutts here and there about some AEW news from, possibly some people from the WWE possibly going to AEW. But anyway, so let's get into the wrestling wrap up here. So first off, we're gonna go back to last night and talk a little bit about oh, and I did forget about the. We also do have some NWA news, some more news coming out of Power tonight, or what will be going on Power tonight. So the show last night opened up with Xavier Woods defeating Karrion Kross. Liv Morgan did retain the women's world title over Zelina Vega. In a battle of father versus son, Rey Mysterio Jr. defeated his son Dominique. And then in the two Money in the Bank, so Zoe Stark and Drew McIntyre advanced to the Money in the Bank matches this Saturday. Zoe Stark in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, and Drew McIntyre in the men's ladder match. So with that, now they're added to the ladder matches this weekend. We'll go over all that later on. With some news coming out of course, WWE. So, of course, Ricochet is now gone from the WWE as as his contract was up yesterday. Natalia's contract is due to be up sometime this summer, and there's been a lot of indications indicating that she may be planning on moving elsewhere, as she's already removed all references to WWE from her social media sites. And Shane McMahon may be somewhat on the move as well, as as there's been significant talk that the three individuals I just mentioned, Ricochet, Natalia, and Shane McMahon, may head to WCW, or not AEW. I'm sorry, AEW. In the case of Ricochet, there is like how likely any of this is still it's still up for debate. Ricochet, there is a talent in ECW that has been seriously calling for Ricochet to be brought into AEW. That's, of course, current AEW International Champion Will Ospreay. He's been trying to get them to maybe go out. Now that, of course, Ricochet is no longer, his contract is up. He's a free agent. Now they can actively pursue him, see if they can get him to come. So we'll probably be watching that story to see if. Now Natalia's, as I just said, her contract is up sometime this summer. There has been some talk that AEW might be interested in bringing her in once her contract's up. Her and possibly her husband TJ Wilson as well, who currently is a trainer after having been forced to retire back in 2010, I believe, or 2012 or something like that. He became a well-respected trainer and agent, and it's possible that AEW may be looking to bring them both in. Obviously Natalia not just as a way to help the women's division further get stronger, but also have a good trainer there. And then one of the more interesting things is Shane McMahon, the once heir apparent to WWE, son of Vince McMahon. There's been some little scuttlebutt going about that Shane may be that Shane may be interested in going to AEW and becoming part of the company. He's been supposedly talking to people in AEW, maybe throwing out feelers out there to see if there's interest in having him go in there. So that's all I got for you. And on tonight's NWA Power, on tonight's NWA Power, on that you can find on the CW. Part 3 of their show from the Crockett Cup include a grab the jewels ladder match between Slade, who is accompanied to the ring by his manager Rolando, as part of New Spectaculars 2.0, taking on Eric Smalls. Tom Latimer will be defending the national heavyweight title against Zion. And in a Crockett Cup semifinal match tonight, Knox and Murdoch take on the Southern Six. Number 2 seed taking on the number 3 seed to challenge the number 1 versus number 4, the winner of the 1-4 matchup, which I believe will probably be airing next week. So that's all I got for you guys in the wrestling wrap-up. So now, with today being Tuesday, July the 2nd, 2024, let's take a look back at this day in Neat's history. So, all right. So the first thing we're going to look at, we're going to go back 70 years to 1954. As first off, on this date 70 years ago today, the first issue of Foxhole from Charlton, known then as Mainline Publications Incorporated, went on sale on this date back in 1954, 70 years ago today. It's a bi-monthly war anthology title. It only lasted for 12 issues, and about halfway through the run, they started changing the name around. It went through, I think, 2 or 3 different names, but started out as Foxhole. So on this date, back 70 years ago today, Charlton's Foxhole number 1 went on sale on this date back in 1954. And 1954 is just so nice that we're going to hit it twice. As also on this date back in 1954, actually, I want to wish a happy 70th birthday to a couple of individuals. First off, happy 70th birthday to Sue Rhodes, who's an American cartoonist, animator, and voice actress and television writer. She was, of course, the creator of Pepper Ann and the co-creator and voice of the title character for Angela and Anaconda. So, happy 70th birthday to Sue Rhodes, the creator of Pepper Ann and co-creator of Angela Anaconda. And also, happy birthday to American actress Wendy Schaal, who provides the voice of Francine Smith, the wife of Stan Smith in American Dad. So happy 70th birthday to both Sue Rhodes and Wendy Schaal. And the birthday wishes just keep on coming, as wishing a happy 60th birthday to WWE referee Charles Robinson. Of course, a lot of fans know him also as Little Nate, as he was somebody who grew up in North Carolina idolizing the Nature Boy back in the 80s, or back in the late 70s, early 80s. So happy 60th birthday to Charles Robinson, current WWE referee, former WCW referee. He actually even learned his craft a little bit from legendary Hall of NWA Hall of Fame referee Tommy Young. And finally, on this date 15 years ago today, back in 2009, pair of animes that premiered on this date back in 2009. JC Statt's Sweet Blue Flowers and Studio Dean's Umineko When They Cry. That's translated as When the Seagulls Cry. Both premiered on Japanese television on this date back in 2009, 15 years ago today. So 15 years ago today, J.C. Staff's Sweet Blue Flowers and Studio Dean's Umineko When They Cry, or When the Seagulls Cry, premiered on this date back in 2009. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. So we'll be back here tomorrow night with more niche news. And of course, don't forget this Friday, I will have the Metal from the Vomitorium with me co-hosting. We'll be continuing our look back to March to comics that went on sale in March 1960, focusing in this week on MLG Enterprises. What we know of today is Archie Comics. Looking forward to it. In that, we will be looking at one of the first multi-feature, multi-issue crossovers, the Monsconian Menace, featured in the Shield and Midshipman features in Pep Comics, starting in Pep Comics number 4, and then also moving through Top Notch Comics number 5 through The Wizard and West Pointer. So I hope you guys will join me then to look back at some of comics history then. But again, we'll be back here tomorrow night with more niche news coverage. And with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.